From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Yeah, that's right. Well, come on in. Wake Up Warchant live here on YouTube, presented by our great friends over at Vitamin Energy. Shake it and take it.
I just took one.
Did you?
Where'd it go?
Good.
I dropped it. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Pick it up.
Yeah,
Pick it
got
up.
a little workout action, a little burner action.
Oh, nice. Nice. Plenty of different varieties. Try them. Find your favorite variety. Dial in on it. Get the flavor you like, and then take it and watch 2025. Just follow that rocket ship to the moon that we're all taking together here. Courtesy of our great friends over at Vitamin Energy. Clinically tested, clinically proven, all natural caffeine. That's all it is, everybody. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They just did it perfectly right. VitaminEnergy.com. Sip the juice. Warchant.com. Ultimate Seminole sports source. Go check that out, ladies and gentlemen. Lots going on. Newcomers arriving on campus. Freshmen that haven't arrived yet, balling out at apparently the Navy All-American game. Corey, you and I grew up on the Army All-American game. Correct. Now there's a Navy one.
Kevin Wynn's doing well, apparently, huh?
Yeah, apparently all he does is win no matter what. So check that out as well. Again, as I mentioned, Michael caught up with the 2026 quarterback, Bradley Smeagol. So there's that interview too. So he's the bell cow for the 26 class. And let's just get it going and rock and roll. Ernie Brito, first off, just says, hello, gents, from cold Michigan. And I was going to complain about how cold I am.
Don't.
I realize there's people probably in Michigan watching the show. How you holding up? You're in Tallahassee right now, so you're in the midst of this as well right now, my friend.
Yeah, it would be worse in Georgia, but yeah, I'm in the midst of it now. And then obviously there's much more serious weather events going on in our country all over the country. So we're very lucky to be where we are. Man, it's just a little cold, but we can live with it.
Folks out there in Southern California, man.
That's some scary stuff, man. That's like a Michael Bay movie when you see that footage. That's insanity what's going on out there. So any of our LA folks, California folks, I hope you're out of harm's way, and I hope your house and your property is out of harm's way.
Well said. All right, y'all want to talk about Noles? Dale Jr. says, what's up, guys? Brian says, let's go, fellas. Or be trying? Be trying in 25. Nice. I like that as well. Yeah, I want to start with some running back stuff. Somebody commented on the show from yesterday, Corey, was saying, don't forget about Sam Singleton, as we mentioned. Yeah. Rasul Faison committing to South Carolina. Osmane Cromah probably comes more into focus. Cam Davis, shout to Ira Schofel, wrote a story about, we'll get to know sooner than later just how special possibly Osmane Cromah, the standout running back from Lee County, Georgia, can be. Scott Beckett says, hey, guys, I think Danzy could be a diamond in the rough. He gets one block and he gone. Don't know why he didn't get more time when Cam got a ton. I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah, we kind of complained about that all year. I did anyway. It was jokingly, but it was a real complaint. It's like, I don't understand why. I mean, he made one big play every week in practice, one or two, and like for touchdowns. So it was odd that he didn't get on the field. I don't think that he was ready to be a D1 running back, whatever that means, because when he was in there, he basically just ran wheel routes. I think he got one carry the whole season, one or two. But I think he's got some stuff to him. He's certainly got speed. Like we talk about Squirrel White's not the fastest guy on the team. I think Mekhi Danzy is. Maybe Howard, the DB, but Lucas, they got some speed, but I don't understand, especially last season when you knew you weren't going to go 60, you weren't going to get 6 first downs on a drive and score a touchdown. It would have been nice to maybe hit a 60-yarder with that kid. And look, he had a chance to make a big catch in the Clemson game and didn't, I think. And then or maybe it was another game. He dropped one and then came back and made the catch the next time. But the one he dropped was a big one. But yeah, man, I think he should be a part of their certainly a part of their plan. It's just I don't know how big a part, because it seems like Norvell at least didn't think of him as like an every down back, more of like it's a toy I'll use twice a game. That doesn't need to be the case this year, in my opinion.
Great recent recall from you there, Corey, was the Clemson game. So.
But then he caught one in another. Maybe it was the Charleston Southern game that he caught. He actually caught it, but he did make a big catch down the sideline in one of those games.
So you got me to pull up real quick, see if he actually did record a stat in this. Yeah, he didn't get one in that game against Clemson. But yeah, that was when they tried to go on the wheel route to him. And then, I don't know, was that after the drive where Clemson, like it was actually like a football game? And
then Clemson went right down the field and scored. And then they threw it to him. And he was by whoever had the unlucky privilege of trying to guard him out of the flat. But then the ball was a bit underthrown. He came back and didn't make the catch. But yeah, he is that speed tracks, man. That speed plays at a really high level. It's just a matter of how they're going to utilize them.
Shout out to our guy Gator Kirk joining us here. Says happy Nole year. Just over a month until baseball starts, and less than that for softball. Go Noles. Yep. Saw one of the incoming freshmen, Hunter Carnes, I think is how you pronounce it, like the number 2 freshman in the country, and he's on campus, y'all. They got him.
He's a catcher, right?
I think he's like catcher slash.
It'll be interesting to see. That's such an important position. You've already got Jackson West. I don't know how much he's actually going to catch this year. But yeah, man, Jamie Arnold's a preseason first-team All-American. He's being talked about to be the number 1 overall pick. There's a lot to be excited about. You just hope they stay healthy and find some bats, because it ain't like you just lose a Tibbs and a Ferrer and a Marco and they just pick up right where you left off. They're going to have to find they have to find some offense, but maybe Hunter Carnes is one of them.
I think also one of the first preseason polls came out earlier in the week. Perfect game, sixth. And they're inside the top 10.
Yeah, they were number 6 in one of them. So yeah, man, there's some high. Good job, Link. Don't go backwards like old Norvell did. Now, keep this thing running, keep this thing hovering. But yeah, that's they've got some real talent. It's a good recruiting class, and the pitching staff might be like elite if they can stay healthy.
Yeah, it's interesting. You think about Mike comes to town with Kenny and Fuller, loses Kenny, has to replace him. Link comes to Tallahassee with Rich Wallace, and what's my guy's name that went to Navy from that came with him from Notre Dame?
Oh,
Ristano.
Chuck Ristano. Chuck Ristano, yeah.
And then Ristano leaves, Rich Wallace leaves. Like, oh man, and things obviously didn't go good in year 1. All the streaks come to an end, right? Yeah. Blocked that on my memory. That was a rough one. But then, hey, he's like, oh man, this guy's back against the wall, lost all of his top lieutenants, and then ends up having a great season, kind of like Florida State had in 2022, and then built.
Well, really, a check swing. You can't say they were guaranteed of beating Tennessee again, right. But they're a check swing of being right there. A check swing called a ball when he swung. From being right there in the. Would you equate that check swing in the Tennessee game to like the non-targeting call in the Texas-Arizona State game? Like they just didn't want to decide it on that because it was so close. I think he did swing. I think it's pretty obvious he swung, but it was very close. And they're like, I don't want to ring him up right here on that. That wasn't a real swing. And it's like the referees are like, I don't want Texas to lose on targeting. So yeah, I think there's some equivalency there. It's always the SEC getting the benefit of the doubt though when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, I forgot how the sequence in which the Arizona State thing happened. But no, I mean because that check swing, that was ball game, man. Right? Yeah. That was out number 3. That was
and he was fooled. He checked it. Now credit to him for getting a hit on the next pitch, but he was fooled, and I thought he swung, and they said no. That was a bummer. But hey, if they get that, they were that close to having a real good shot at it, and let's hope their luck will finally turn out there at some point in our lives, folks. I promise. It has to. It just has to.
Fingers crossed. All right. Patrick Young. Guys, I'm really disappointed. FSU has really neglected the southwest and southern parts of Georgia. Since Jimbo left, it seems FSU has forgotten about this area. One of the DBs in this area is going to Southern Cal. Patrick Bubby. Isn't Leesburg considered 229?
Yeah, that's definitely that's southwest Georgia. Yeah. Yeah.
Cam Davis, Albany.
That's close too. Yeah. Well, the running backs, they're doing all right. Yeah, man.
Evan Wynn?
Where's he from?
I don't know. I got to check that out. But I think he's from somewhere in Georgia. I'm pretty sure because I was all concerned about old Kirby going after him. But we got our meet. Greensboro?
Not sure where that is.
Greene County.
I figured it was Greene County. I don't know where that is. It's the county seat of Greene County, Greensboro. Yeah. It sounds small.
It's between east of Madison. It's between Atlanta and Augusta. So yeah. No,
okay. All right. Okay. But there you go. Yeah. Georgia's like second in the country in counties, so it's hard to know them all.
Oh yeah.
But look, I don't know if they're neglecting it or they're just not getting guys. But also I don't know the story behind some of these. Like some of them just don't want to come. I don't know. I would say overall, you could be disappointed in the recruiting at Florida State. No matter you're talking about Southwest Georgia, the southeastern portion of the United States, Florida. Like, I was talking with some buddies about this. Like, how ridiculous is it when you really take a step back, Aslan, and think? How ridiculous is it that the last Florida State recruit who was signed that was a wide receiver that got drafted was Auden Tate. And before that, it was Rashad Green. That's insanity. You've had 2 kids drafted that you brought into this program in the last decade at wide receiver in the state of Florida. And Auden Tate was like the 3rd to last pick in the draft. Rashad Green was a 4th or 5th round pick. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy they haven't found. And maybe I'm missing. Maybe I'm forgetting someone. I don't think I am. I don't think like Pokey was drafted. Tamarian Terry wasn't drafted. So it's just bizarre, man. It's just bizarre, and that needs to change. Get some guys in the state of Florida. It's loaded with skill guys. It's all it's got. How do they keep missing on the wide receiver recruits? Look, this isn't a bash Florida State show. I do really like what they've done in the portal. It's just when you think about this wide receiver recruiting they've had for a decade, it's like, yikes. Kelvin Benjamin was the last first-round pick they had. We celebrated the 10-year anniversary of that catch 2 days ago. That's how long ago Kelvin Benjamin was here.
Yeah, I was about to say, but what have Florida and Miami done? I know Florida had Pearsall, but Pearsall was a transfer from Arizona State. I think maybe the Badger kid might have a shot at getting drafted in Miami.
I feel like Miami's got a few dudes that have been drafted that are in the league. Like even the who was the kid that caught the Barrios? He was drafted. He's in the NFL. Even somebody like Barrios, you'd kill for something. You haven't had anything like that in a decade that was your own guy. Now, you can't be too critical when you got Keon and Johnny for a season, but it's just bizarre that they haven't been able to go get their own recruits and turn them into wide receivers. NFL wide receivers, I mean.
Yeah. Speaking of Southwest Georgia, Dawson, prediction for Osmane Croma yards and touchdowns. We'll assume for year 1.
Yes.
Career.
If the running back room is what it is right now, I haven't seen them. I haven't seen one. I've watched highlights. And Lee County doesn't play, little boy football, so I get that he's playing some decent competition. But I think I'd have a better answer after spring. But just going on the depth chart right now in this offense and this coaching staff, I'm going to say 536-7.
I like that. Okay. I was going to like set an over under at like 495.5, and then maybe the touchdowns at 5.5. So you'd go over on both those. I like that. All right. Yeah. I mean, so last year, golly, geez.
Don't look at last year. It burns your eyes.
It does. I mean, Toa Feely led the team with 456 net rushing yards on 109 attempts. Cam Davis had 52 carries, 173 yards. I mean, I know they're going to have a big boost, but you still think, I would still think Croma is probably number 2 behind Cam Davis. Maybe he's special, as Ira was trying to get to the bottom of it, and we'll see it sooner than later. But I like those numbers. We'll put them in time.
If he's special, it'll be double what I just said. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? True freshmen go out and have big years all the time. So if he's special and he's getting the majority of the carries, again, this ain't going to be a tailback by committee, probably. I assume he'll be the number 2 guy to start the season.
Yeah.
I don't know who the number 1 will be. Maybe he's on the roster, maybe he isn't, but right now. But I feel like they're not going to run 4 running backs. They're not going to have a drive like they did to open up the season with 5 different running backs come in. Gus likes his guys, and he rides them.
All right, let's go to our guy. I think we got our guy, David Bardstown. Yeah, let's go to David Bardstown, everybody. Let's give it up for David Bardstown as he drops Alexander Hamilton in the jar. Appreciate that. David Bardstown says, I guess it's a 3-parter. 1, for Christmas, Tommy, his son, a.k.a. T-Bone, got Dave a signed Warwick Dunn poster.
Wow, I'll take one of those, Tommy.
Nice.
If you're giving them out, if you're willy-nilly finding Warwick Dunn signed posters, I'll take one.
In the vein of iron sharpening iron, was fall practice last year aluminum dulling aluminum?
I think it was iron just breaking in half and melting into the fire. Can that happen? Because iron melt?
I think so, right? Yeah.
Everything can melt if it's hot enough, right?
I think so.
Right? You can milk me, right, Greg? I have nipples. Like I assume everything melts if it's hot enough. So yes, dulling aluminum is a good counter to that.
I think this is borderline racist, but he says if you put hummus on a Corey wrap, can you call it the Aslan?
They don't.
Come on, Dave.
They don't have hummus at Corner Pocket. That's a fair answer. They don't have hummus at Corner Pocket.
Come on, Dave. Come on, buddy. Still love you, though. By the way, not that we should doubt Corey Clark on this show ever, but Texas leads the country in amount of counties at 254. Behind them at number 2, the Peach State, Georgia, with 159.
It's not a big enough state to have 159 counties.
No.
It's just a lot of people wanting to be county commissioners.
Yeah.
It's a lot of local politicians.
Let's continue the discussion around practices. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We'll get to you in a second, Garrett Peace. I promise. I just accidentally hit the wrong one. Our guy Tally850, listening to the BMAC podcast, Mickey Andrews was on it recently, said that the Florida State practices weren't tough enough. Do y'all agree? It was a great interview, by the way. Just real quick before I let you go on this one, Corey, it's hard to criticize practice because it did not look too dissimilar in terms of what they made them do to what they were doing in 2022 or 2023. I really can't think of anything that stood out in terms of they're giving them like an easy way out. They're cutting a corner here, but I'm not going to tell Mickey Andrews he's wrong when it comes to what you need to do to have a tough enough practice to create a winning team.
Yeah, and I think when you hear Mickey, and I haven't listened to the podcast yet, but I am looking forward to it, and I will. When you hear Mickey talk about that, I don't know if it's necessarily like this is why Florida State's bad or was bad, or maybe just this is what his problem with college football in general now is. Because, again, as Kirby said it, they all said it, they just don't tackle anymore. It is hard. I do think Georgia, they call it Bloody Tuesday. I think Georgia Tech has something similar. I think a lot of programs have a day that's their physical day that they try to, I don't know, hype up, like they want their players excited for that day, whatever that day is, that physical day. And Aslan's right. Like it wasn't dissimilar enough at all, other than the players at practice from what we saw the year before. I mean, they did. It was like the same routine the whole season. I am very, very interested in what it looks like in a couple months. You know what I mean? Like, I do think there will be changes. I think there have to be changes. I think you've got to find out, especially on the offensive line, how these guys work. And it ain't just one-on-ones for a 3-second rep. Like, they've got to really work against other linemen and not themselves. So much of Florida State's offensive line teaching is linemen blocking other offensive linemen. Okay, now I block you, now you block me. And I would rather them be blocking Kevin Wynn. I think, talk about iron sharpening iron, gang. I think that's what they need a little more of, but I'm not running the practice. But Mickey is at practice a lot, so it's not like he's speaking from a guessing place or a hypothetical place. He's at practice a good bit. He's probably at practice more than I was this year once the season tanked.
Similar veins of greatness, Mickey Andrews and Dr. Chandler when it comes to working on your teeth, everybody. Z-Chan in the house. $50 in the jar, starting us off 2025 strong, coming on the back of our guy other than Kentucky Dave. Shout out to Z-Chan. Says he'll come down from Sowega. Do we call it that?
Yeah. I don't know how it's pronounced, but yeah, it's the Southwest Georgia. Sowega. Yeah. I would guess Sowega, but I didn't live there quite long enough to really get the lexicon of the region.
Z-Chan says he'll come down from that area and play, represent the 229. Love you guys.
I know it's not Albany, and I know it's not Cairo. I did learn that during my times in Southwest Georgia. It's Cairo and Albany, which is just ridiculous, but Albany, something like that.
All right, what do we got here? Don Rurik. This is a question people keep asking. Corey, answer it for the people. So if the quarterback transfer, which would be Thomas Castellanos, gets hurt this upcoming season, who would take his place?
Brock Glenn probably, maybe Trevor Jackson. Aslan brought him up, and that was a good thing to bring up. I think that is a legitimate competition for the second-string quarterback, and it needs to be. I think Trevor Jackson has some athleticism that's pretty unique. He's going to struggle like every young quarterback struggles with reads or making the perfect throw all the time. But you've got the beauty of it is that they are both reasonable enough facsimiles of Castellanos as an athlete that I don't know if the offense would change that much. Castellanos is I would assume the best of the bunch, but it's close between him and Trevor Jackson, and Brock Glenn is not a slowpoke. So I feel like you would still be able to run a lot of the offense, and Castellanos isn't Peyton Manning throwing the football. So I don't know that it would be that hard to replicate his traits. I think he's obviously better than both of these two guys. You want him to be the starter. You want him to have a great year. But I think these two guys are similar enough in what they can do that the offense wouldn't change much. But, clearly it would probably be worse. You don't go to their backups for a reason. But it would be I don't think it would be falling off a cliff. Not that you fell off a cliff after DJ got hurt, because you were already hanging. You were already off the cliff. You lost your grip. But
you're Hans Gruber, and you just let go of Holly McClain.
Yeah, and you're just oh no. But then I do think that when you talk about it, won't be going from. I don't think it would be going from Jordan Travis to DJU. Is that fair? The quarterback play. I just don't. I don't think it's that big a disparity between Castellanos and those other two guys, which again is probably not something you want to hear. Like, oh, really, Brock Glenn's? But it's not such a vast chasm between your starter and your backups. Let's see what Brock Glenn looks like in a real offense. Like, nobody would have looked good in that offense. He clearly didn't. I don't know that he's going to be even a starter. He's certainly probably not going to be a star at the college level or not at Florida State. But he could maybe be serviceable with better coaching and better players around him, you'd hope. In a running game, that would be wonderful.
Almost as wonderful as the Corey Wrap over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. CPTallybar.com, the website, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Daily lunch specials from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for only $8.99. Comes with a side dish of your choice. We talk about it. It's a real thing right there. The Corey Wrap, fresh chicken breast grilled, piled high with hickory smoked bacon, sharp cheddar cheese, served with a tortilla wrap, lettuce, tomato, onion, pickles, and their chipotle mayo.
I had one last night. Nice. Had one last night. As good as always.
Let's not go too long into the rebut. How was trivia last night?
Finished third. Well, we finished in a tie for second. And here's the question. Let's see if any guy. The tiebreaker question was the running time of the movie Man on Fire, the Denzel Washington movie. The running time in minutes.
129.
Yeah. See, I thought it was. I've never seen it. That's my fault, gang. I was told repeatedly that was a mistake and I need to see it. But I thought it was just like a normal action comedy that was like an hour and 40 minutes. Apparently, it's like 2.5 hours. So we put an hour and 40 minutes, or we put like 104, so an hour and 44 minutes, and the answer was like 146. So we finished third, which is what we always do. But it's still good times. Good times, great people, good food.
Yeah. No comedy in Man on Fire, but plenty of comedy and fun and hijinks over the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Right. Go check out the first semifinal game if you're in town Thursday night over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Friday, the second semifinal. NFL
playoffs. 3 straight nights. Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway.
If you're watching this live, you could probably go over to CP and catch the Noles basketball team that'll be tipping off in about half an hour.
Oh, really? Who do we got tonight?
The Canes.
Oh, that's
in Miami.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy. Dave wanted to clarify, no harm intended with the hummus. But for the record, hummus on a turkey wrap is really good. Okay.
I believe it. I like hummus. Do you like hummus, Aslan? That's not racist to ask that, is it? Big hummus fan?
Yeah, I like hummus. Yeah. It's Mediterranean more so than like Middle Eastern or whatever. But yeah, I like it. No Tell says, Corey, how long do you think we're going to live?
Fair question. Is the age of life expectancy in this country going up or going down?
Quickly pause. Landon Thomas, Colquitt County, Southwest Georgia, going back to it. I think, we have to be getting older and older. Life expectancy has to be shooting through the roof, I would think.
I would think we're all going to live into our 80s.
Let's hope so. Florida's life expectancy is 78.9 years, which is almost 2 years higher than the national average of 77.3.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go, Florida.
Yeah. All right. Next up, T. Giddy just wants to do warm wishes and throw $20 in our face.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Thank you, Thomas.
That is very nice, Thomas. Thank you, buddy. Hey, I hope everything's going well with your family.
I should have busted out the hockey jersey. It's been a long time since I busted out the hockey jersey he gave us. I got two different hockey jerseys, I think, right? I think he gave us two.
Yeah, he gave us like jerseys and then a shirt, I believe.
Yeah. Well wishes to you and yours, Thomas Giddings, as well as everybody watching this. If you could hit the thumbs up, everybody, we certainly would appreciate that. Just helps ping the video out there, let people know the Noles are being talked about, and let's talk about them. Garrett PCL, I put this on the screen and then took it down. I'm sorry, Garrett. Now it's your turn. Rumors he hears about possibly there not being a spring showcase. Can teams opt out of spring games? Do you think spring games will go the way of the dodo?
Good question. Yeah, heard those rumors too.
Really? The spring showcase has just been a practice, hasn't even been a game.
I think that would anybody really miss it? It's not that. You're also installing a brand new offense, a brand new defense. Maybe you don't want that aired on ESPN3.
Stadium is still
under construction. And look, man, they've got what, 8 months, 7.5 months to get that thing ready for a primetime game against Alabama. They maybe don't want to take a week off and get the stadium ready for people to be in it. So the better question, they're all good questions, Garrett. Didn't mean to impugn the questions, but I don't know what the purpose of spring games will be moving forward. I don't know. I don't know what it's a good question. They don't tackle. A lot of people sit out. It seems to my impressions like just come watch. They try to sell it like a real game, and then you sit there and you're like, what is this? You're watching a practice with special teams work, 2-point conversion plays. It's not a game. They used to be games with offense and defense or Garnet versus Gold. They're not really games anymore, and they try to make them fun with the former players coming back for a flag football game during half, and celebrity coaches and all that. But I don't know. I don't know if they need to keep doing game if they're not going to get really anything out of it because you're not going to tackle any of the good players. Then I don't know what exactly is being. It's nice to get like the thought always, Aslan, right, is okay. These freshmen get a chance to play in front of people. Mm-hmm. Gets their juices flowing. They get to feel it a little bit. But think about the difference between a Saturday in April in front of, I'll be kind, 27,000 Florida State fans on a sunny afternoon Saturday in April compared to 5 months later, primetime Alabama. Do you think they're going to be able to really harken back to that day in April and be like, I can do this? I showed them I could do it in April. I mean, it probably fills you with a little bit of confidence that you can do it in front of people, but until you do it in an actual game, I don't think that that's the real benefit either. So who knows, man? I wouldn't be too upset if they got rid of them or just called them what they are, scrimmages, but scrimmages without tackling.
By the way, our guy No-Tell said the question about our mortality was related to Florida State winning a baseball championship. Corey said that we're going to win one in our lifetimes.
Yeah, so over the next few decades, it's going to happen. Has to. Law of averages, gang. And when they win one, they're going to rip off 7 of 8. They're going on a crazy run once they get the Band-Aid off.
Wayne Baldy's got a recruiting question that I don't have the answer to, but sometimes Matt Lasser's out there listening. So, Matt, if you're out there, he wants to know about the defensive back from NC State. I don't know his name off the rip, but I'm pretty sure I've seen like his face with like a bunch of team logos around his face. So there's a lot of people I think that have offered that kid, but the premium recruiting board's got you covered, everybody. Warchant.com. Calopecia myth? Calopsia? Anyhow, does it scare us that Gus Malzahn had 3, technically 4, he says, guys play quarterback this past season? It was a trend for him at UCF.
Well, see, I thought he had the Plumlee kid for 2 years. I guess he probably missed some time, though. I think they just missed on the quarterback they got, just like Florida State did. I don't think he fit into that system. I think that was a bad move on their part. Castellanos and KJ Jefferson have very, very little in common other than they're college football players with their skill sets, I mean. So I think he just missed and then was searching for answers after that and wanted some more athleticism. KJ Jefferson wasn't playing all that well. I think I haven't paid that much attention to Gus's career from afar, not that far, Alabama and then Orlando, but I don't feel like he was a rotating quarterback guy. I feel like he'd get a guy and run with him until he got hurt and he'd have to go somewhere else, right?
Mostly, but I mean, he does have things are slipping out of it. I mean, this is when he was a head coach at Auburn and all that stress. I mean, but it's not going to be too dissimilar to the stress you'd be under at Florida State if you're not winning. But yeah, I think Sean White and Jeremy Johnson were guys that he was like kind of platooning between Nick Marshall and then when he got Jarrett Stidham for him in 17. And
remember he had John Franklin. Remember John Franklin? He was an Auburn quarterback for half a year, I feel like.
Yeah. Was a great scout team look, and then he went to East Mississippi Community College, and then he resurfaced there. But yeah, I mean, I think he kind of hung pretty tough with Bo Nix for a long bit before, that whole thing kind of fell apart. I would say maybe someone would look at the fact that he's maybe not too stubborn and would change quarterbacks if he feels he needs a spark. Maybe he's more kind of like the Bobby Bowden part of, or at least, is it fair to say like the second half of Coach Bowden's career? But I feel he always kind of wasn't afraid to throw a new quarterback out there if he felt his team needed a spark, but maybe football's just different now.
It was crazy. Like I was talking to some friends about this too. Like back in the early 80s, Bowden would run 3 or 4 quarterbacks out there a season, sometimes in a game. Like he'd just pull his starter in the second quarter and be like, Eric Thomas, you're in there now. And then, Chip Ferguson, you're in there for McManus or vice versa. Like he had no qualms with it really, but it's funny that stopped when the dynasty started. It's like, okay, McManus is my guy in 87. Chip is my guy in 88. Willis in 89. Weldon and Johnson were the only ones that I feel like went back and forth, and Weldon won that job from Brad Johnson, and then they just took off. But, yeah, early in his career, he had no qualms about rotating quarterbacks. It felt like anyway, especially like from 81 to 85. But, yeah, you're right, though. I do think Malzahn is – and he's not – I mean, I know he recruited Castellanos and signed him 3 years ago, but he's – that's not his dude. He's a guy he brought in, but if Castellanos isn't playing well, or he's banged up, and you're like, okay, do you want 60% Castellanos or 100% Brock Glenn or Trevor Jackson? I don't think Malzahn will have any issue playing other guys. But yes, you would absolutely like to have the right guy, and then you don't have to make those moves. We'll see if he's got it. But it's not something that scares me about him, to answer the question.
Yeah, just the crazy season that it's interesting. If you go back and look at like the comment, it's funny. Like whenever somebody leaves somewhere, I was like looking at the Wes Goodwin, the defensive coordinator for Clemson. Like he leaves Clemson, every Clemson fan is elated. Like, thank gosh he's out of here. And then the Oklahoma fans are like, all right, cool. A guy that knows Brent's system and Brent's comfortable with him. Like that'll be a really good addition to the team. Like most Auburn, he still has a very favorable rating in Auburn, Alabama. And with Auburn fans, Gus Malzahn, much higher than at UCF, oddly enough, which, not that I think like UCF fans would be forever grateful to him because, it was Scott Frost. I don't know, maybe Scott Frost did so well, and then they liked Heupel a lot, and then Gus couldn't kind of maintain. Like Heupel and Frost left while they were on top. Gus stayed there and kind of backslid. But I mean, he's pretty well liked wherever he's been. So not too worried about it at all. Eddie Booza's here, everybody. Let's give him some soundtrack.
Dollar bills, y'all.
$5 in the jar. Thanks, Eddie. He's got a question for us, Corey, putting us on the spot. But let's talk Lady Noles softball. Okay. Garnet and gold game for them February 2nd, he believes.
Well, we won't talk a lot about it because I'm not as informed as I probably should be. Look, that Beecham is, I think, she's got to be, if she's not the best hitter in the country, she's on the short list. Torres was one of the best freshmen in the country with her. Look, man, it comes down to the pitching. If they've got better pitching, which they should, if McKenna Reed is back to her former self, I assume she's still on the roster. She should only be a junior. I haven't checked their roster in the new year. She's still here. They got some transfers, some good ones, I think, but they also got another really good freshman class to come in.
That Jazzy Francic girl, young lady from Melbourne, I think she was like the top player, and she broke some records, I think, in the state of Florida.
Okay.
Ended her college or high school career with a .4 ERA, 1,507 strikeouts, 21 no-hitters, 26-1 as a senior.
Oh, what was the one? Who got her for the one? That's the real question. So if the pitching can at least, because last year it wasn't just the pitching wasn't Florida State standard, it was bad for the conference. Like they were lower in the conference in ERA. Their offense was so good, they still got to. I guess they got to the Supers, right? They went out to Oklahoma and lost to Oklahoma in the Supers, I think, because of course they had to play Oklahoma again. But for them to go contend for another national championship, which should be the goal with Lonnie every year, they've just got to have much better pitching than they had last year. And I assume because she's really good at what she does, and so her coaches, that they got the necessary arms to make that a possibility or a probability.
They have like a 24-25 split on their schedule for some reason on the drop down. Man, I just wanted to double check. Yeah, it was OU. Lost in extra early. They got run rolled in the first game and then 4-2 in the second one against Oklahoma. Yeah, they're gonna test it early on. They're going to Puerto Vallarta to start the season, and then they're coming back and they're going to play in that invitational again at Clearwater, the Eddie C. Moore Complex.
Okay,
right off McMullen Booth and Drew 727 stand up. So they're going to be playing Oklahoma State out there in Puerto Vallarta and a couple other teams, Missouri, Ohio State, UCF, Wichita State.
Okay,
in Clearwater. So.
Well, go get them, ladies. But I love watching Beecham hit. I love watching her hit. I legitimately think she might be the best hitter Florida State's ever had, either sport. It's unbelievable how good she was as a freshman, Aslan. It was unbelievable.
Shout out to our guy, Don Rorick. He does this like once a year, man.
He did ask a question, though, earlier, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Corey.
You're good.
Yeah, Don asked a question earlier. He's usually involved in the chats, and then like every now and then, like he'll drop a super chat. Just threw $20 in the jar. Don, we appreciate you, man. He's always commenting, hitting the thumbs up. Him and Mike Myrick, they're like original diehard loyalists. We appreciate you, Don. If you got another question, feel free to ask us. I'll try to pop it up on the screen. You don't have to put any more super chat behind it. This question came in earlier, and I don't have any clarity on it, but it's worth considering, I guess. But then you look at how much football he played, and I don't know if it really is, but Ernie, who's out there in frigid Michigan, not sure where in Michigan. Have you ever been to Ann Arbor? Corey, you went up there for the 91 game, right?
The 91 game, sure did.
Nice campus.
I hesitate because I don't remember much of it. I feel like we just walked straight to the
Were you drunk?
Stadium.
You drunk?
No. I was a teenager. I was in high school. And my dad wasn't either. It was a noon game because they all were, buddy. So we just drove to the parking lot and walked to the stadium. So I don't remember much about the campus.
So Ernie says, guys, any word if DJ Lundy is coming back? Because Lundy played in 5 games last year before he got injured. But I went back. He played in every game, I feel like, in 2020 as a true freshman. He's played over 1,600 snaps in his career. So he would be looking for a 6th season. But, hey, man, that dude from Miami was like a 9th-year tight end. So that's probably worth checking into. But I don't have an answer for you, Ernie.
I would say check into that. And I saw it on the message boards more than once today. Keziah Holmes, if he's back or not. I don't like the new world order we live in where we don't know if guys are really seniors. Y'all all made fun of me because I kept thinking Malik Benson had another year. And guess what? He got another year. He's at Oregon now. So I don't know. Keziah Holmes walked. I'm almost positive both of them walked during the Florida game, but then so did Darrell Jackson, and he's back. So who knows? We'll have a much better idea, I guess, when we're out there for OTAs. If we're allowed out, if they have media out there, which they usually do like the week before spring practice, and then we'll know about spring practice.
Reading tea leaves, though, maybe with them going after all these backers, maybe it's
I think Lundy's gone.
I mean, they Stephon Thompson, they got Herring, Lavallee, I'm sorry. So, yeah. I'll check into that, Ernie. Promise, man. Thanks for asking the question. Garrett's back. Thomas Castellanos fill in the blank needs blank total yards next season for Florida State to win at least 8 to 9 intercollegiate varsity tackle football games.
Well, he's got to average, I think, around 200 yards a game passing. So that's 2,400. I'd say 3,000. 600 yards rushing isn't too much to ask for him. He ran for over 1,000 2 years ago. And him running will open up, obviously, the running game in general, and then the lanes for the other running backs. So I would say 3,000 yards I don't know how 3,000 total yards would be wonderful because that means you probably got 5,000 as a team. Maybe somewhere, maybe not that much, maybe 4,500, but still that's what is that? Almost 400 a game compared to 260 a game. You're going to, so I would say 3,000 total yards. You get in that neighborhood. It also means he played the whole year and was playing well enough to keep his job. So that's not a bad thing, I don't think. Maybe 3,500 would be ideal.
Yeah, for 8 to 9 games. Sounds about right. All right. Matt's here, everybody. He says he thinks Florida State might be done in the portal for now. They were involved with the North Carolina State defensive back at one point, but defensive back is not currently a need.
I'd like him to go get a D lineman, Matt. Make that happen after the spring. Keep your ear to the grindstone.
I didn't realize that they were after that kid from Sam Houston State. He committed to Auburn earlier in the week. Chris Baker, maybe. But hey, there'll be more guys out there. I saw a guy from like Purdue just join. I mean, here's the thing too. So everybody, it's like 5 days after your season ends. But if you're a graduate, you can enter whenever you want. So there's really no. I have to keep putting in all these stories that whenever I publish on our website, it's like it opens kind of, but like it never really closes. It's like the Hotel California, you know.
I'm glad you brought up we're talking about the portal real quick. I'm actually working on a story looking at the Final Four teams and what their transfer situation is like. And it's a small sample size, but when you look at these 4 teams that are playing this week in the next couple of days, Ohio State has 5 transfers that start for them. I believe Notre Dame has 5 that are starting for them. Penn State and Texas have 4 each. And one of Texas's is Quinn Ewers, who I know he's technically a transfer, but he's been there forever. He's like their Jordan Travis. So, and I thought was most telling, and probably the basis of the column I'm going to write, is that out of those 4 teams, only one of them has a starting offensive lineman that's a transfer. Penn State has a guy from Wisconsin. That's it. The other guys are all homegrown, home-developed offensive linemen. The point being, what Florida State has done in the portal this year, I don't think has made it a national championship Final Four roster, but I think it can get close to the dance if things break a certain way. Like, I didn't look up Arizona State or Boise State or any of those teams, but like I'm sure they had many more transfers than that. Yeah. To get to that elite Final Four on the line of scrimmage level, I think, especially on the offensive line, to get elite on the offensive line. And I think you could say that, I mean, I don't know how many draft picks they're going to have, but I assume Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State, and Ohio State have very good offensive lines. Well, it's telling that they only have 1 transfer starter among the 20 guys that are going to be playing in the Final Four.
2. Well, so Seth McLaughlin transferred from Alabama to Ohio State, but I think he's hurt.
Yes, correct. I'm talking about the rosters they had for their bowl games.
I got you.
Sorry, for their playoff games. So yes, correct. And also, but here's the thing: Ohio State, they recruit at a really high level, man, and so all these guys do at the line of scrimmage. Penn State's every year sending 3 defensive linemen to the NFL. So I just think if Florida State wants to get to this elite, consistent level with this new coaching staff and this old head coach, not old in age, old that he's been here for now, this is his 6th year coming up. You've got to start getting the Kevin Wynns of the world, and you've got to hope that the Lucas Simmons of the world are real players. They've recruited some big time 4-star, 5-star-ish type guys. You've got to hold on to them and you got to develop them. That's where I think. When you look at the difference between like an 8-4 team, a team in the top, a team that's 17th in the country, and a team that's number 3 in the country for back-to-back years, there's not a lot of guessing and hoping on the offensive line. They know what they got, and they usually got really good dudes.
All right, our guy.
Not to be a bummer.
Actually, let's go to this one first. Our guy Wes out there in the villages. Yo, Corey Aslan jumping in late. What's up, Wes? He says hit the thumbs up, everybody, so please do so. Which newcomer are you most excited to see in the spring? Also, when can we expect new player interviews? I think Jordan Scott.
Because you feel like you have more of a handle on what Deuce Robinson's going to be?
Yeah. I mean, I guess he counts as a newcomer. I mean, listen, Jordan Scott's not a freshman either, but Yeah, just because to your point, like I feel really good about Deuce. I was doing some research too. I don't know if it's going to make it into a story, but I mean, Deuce is he's a top 10 guy in the portal. I think he might be the number 8 overall guy. I think I was looking at it. Florida State, I think, made a run at 16 guys in the top 100 that On3 had, and they got like 5.
Yeah,
which
it's not a bad percentage when you're coming off 2 and 10.
No, not at all. And then again, and then you see where they're ranked in the portal rankings, which I don't put a lot of credence into, but it's like, oh, what's going on there? So it's like, that's why I'm like, there's got to be another way to look at this and make you feel more accurate about what it is. So I'd would say like Jordan Scott and maybe Kevin Wynn. I don't want to put too much pressure on the young kid, as the old Jimboism about the closer you play to the football, the harder it is to get on the field and make an impact. But wouldn't mind seeing a true freshman come here and just do some special things. That'd be cool.
I think Wynn, I'll be watching a lot. I can't imagine that he's going to be a huge difference maker in 2025, but it's not impossible. It happens. There's defensive linemen that play really well right away, and they need them. They need a dude other than Darrell Jackson in the middle of that line, in the middle of the defensive line, that can make plays and that is a potential NFL player and a game wrecker. It's going to be hard to wreck games as a true freshman playing a real college football schedule, but it has happened in the past. Maybe he's a really special guy. Deuce Robinson, I really want to see what that looks like. Castellanos, there's a lot of them, man. Half the team. They're up to 36 or 37 new guys as of right now coming in. And then the running back will be here. He's here, right?
Yeah, Osman Cromwell, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see Cromwell too. I want to see what that looks like in person, how it looks compared to similar athletics, similar athletes, if he's still a little bit special. But it's also hard to know when they're not getting tackled. But I'm sure we'll be able to see some stuff that's special, even if he's not being, actively tackled.
Dawn of a new year, everybody. Y'all got resolutions. Why not clean up house? Our finances, that is. 85% of people, Corey, I'm included in this statistic, have at least one subscription that goes unused each month.
I might have 6. Yeah. I'm going to be a great test case for this. Honestly, I am, because I have no idea with all the stuff, Brady's baseball stuff over the years in streaming services. I would be magazines I bought. I would love to know what all subscriptions I have that I don't know about.
Xbox, things of that nature too, right? The
golly,
Microsoft Store. Rocket Money will help you get your personal finances in order. It'll help you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending. This is going to help you kind of keep track of everything. They can actually, within the app, help you cancel these subscriptions, so you don't have to worry about finding an email address or finding a phone number. Rocket Money has over 5 million users. It has saved them a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, which comes out to maybe $740 a year for some folks when they use all the app's premium features. So head over to rocketmoney.com/game on. Game on. Isn't that what they said after the first strike? Like, not the first strike, like the strike in 94 with baseball, like when they came back, was the game on? Was that the slogan?
Could have been.
Maybe it was hockey. Anyhow, go to rocketmoney.com/game on and get your finances in order so we can start saving money, putting it away, and watch it grow in our portfolios at hopefully a 17 to 20% year-over-year growth. But that's just pie in the sky sometimes. Yeah. All right. I'm very curious about what's going to happen in Chapel Hill. Our guy, Ben, jamming 2 shirts. Any concerns about facing Belichick in 27, though? Will he even be there by then? I don't think so, but I'm just very curious, like the profile of guys he's going after and what they're going to look like, because he hasn't gotten a lot. I didn't think there was going to be like this exodus or this influx of elite guys wanting to go to North Carolina all of a sudden, but felt like there'd be more than what they've got right now so far. But I mean, who am I to second guess Bill Belichick?
It's weird that earlier today on Wednesday, there were reports that teams were talking to him, NFL teams, that he was back on the NFL market, like the Raiders have been interested. And it wasn't like blog accounts tweeting this. It was like Ian Rappaport and Schefter.
Tom Pelissero, I think.
So it's like, man, they don't just make up stuff. Now Belichick came out and denied it and said he's going to be at UNC. He leaked that too.
He was out recruiting. I love that. I'm recruiting.
Recruiting. Are you kidding? I bleed Tar Heel blue, sky blue, whatever they call it. I bleed it. I'm not going anywhere. His son is the DC, right?
Yes.
Did he not bring his son over?
Yeah, no, he did. He did.
So I would not be stunned if if it doesn't happen so June 1st, he would owe North Carolina $10 million if he resigns or takes another job before June 1st of this year. On June 2nd of this year, see ya. He doesn't owe him anything.
Yeah.
There's part of me that would be weird because it's already after the draft. It's part of me that could see him doing that and bouncing. And they're like, well, I guess my son has to be your head coach. He's already here. He's my DC. He's got the last name. But if it doesn't happen this year, I would absolutely think it would happen the following year, especially if North Carolina even has a decent season. He shows he wants to coach again. NFL teams will come running because there's 10 new jobs every year in the NFL. It's more now than ever because they keep firing people after 1 year. So I would be stunned to answer Jamin's question that if Belichick is there in 2027. There might be a Belichick there. I don't think it'll be the one you're worried about.
We had some follow-up on softball. Somebody was telling us to keep an eye on one of the transfers from Hofstra, Julia Apsel. Apparently was a good relief pitcher, or maybe she was a starter formerly at Hofstra for the Pride and might fit into being a bullpen option for Lonnie and the ladies. So we'll see how that all works out. Next up on here, let's go to Easy Living 247 or 24/7, I should say, rather. Don't want to give the competition a plug. Corey, he asks, what are your thoughts on players who leave Florida State for the portal, but then end up back in the portal multiple times? Poor player decisions or NIL?
I think some of it is bad advice they're confused and have been led to believe they're going to get more NIL money that's actually out than it's actually out there for them. I think most of the people that leave Florida State, and this probably goes for a majority of the big boy schools, probably it doesn't end up great for them. They end up probably regretting it. I think by and large, the people that, some of them leave just because they're not good enough. That has happened a lot here in the last month, but the last 13 months, I think they've lost guys that just weren't good enough. We didn't think were good enough to play here. That doesn't mean they all are. This isn't sour grapes. There's plenty of guys that have left that you're like, man, that stung. He could have been a depth piece or a starter this year. But by and large, most of the guys that leave here, I feel like either didn't develop at the rate the coaches thought they were going to develop, or weren't good enough. So and maybe they weren't coached well. That it's not all on the players, their development. But I think that's I would like, who made a mistake. I think the person that always comes to mind when I think of this is McClendon. He left after the 2022 season and went and played at Colorado. They wouldn't have had to go get Gilbert Edmond because he was a perfectly good, perfectly suitable opposite defensive end from Jared Verse, and he left to go to Colorado and was on a 4-8 football team while the guys he had played the last 3 or 4 years with went 13-0. So I think that was a poor decision. Well,
the question is, like, who didn't make a mistake? I think. I mean,
yeah, if who didn't make a mistake,
like Damian Webb.
Right? Yeah, that's perfect for him, right? Yeah. No, he didn't make a mistake. He went and got a lot of yards somewhere else. Rodemaker probably didn't make a mistake. No. Now, he is where he is now, and Florida State fans aren't probably sad that he's not here anymore. But he went and was the starter at another school where he wouldn't have been the starter here. Durden didn't make a mistake. Fagan didn't make a mistake, but those guys were early on in the process. Since then, I mean, we'll see about Patrick Payton and Destin Hill. And I'm sure there's some other guys that will go out there. Who was the lineman that went, the offensive lineman that left here? And then he started every game in a real
Landon Dickerson?
Well, no. He started this year on a team, and I can't remember who it was, but he was never going to get run at Florida State because Atkins had his dudes and he wasn't, and they kept portaling over him. But I feel like he went and played somewhere else and played every game.
Our guy that went to TCU, Bless Harris, or not TCU, somewhere in Texas.
Yeah, but Bless Harris, he didn't make a mistake. He went and played, and he was clearly being portaled over, whether that was a smart decision or not. So, I mean, look, man, this NIL world, these kids get told a lot of crazy stuff, and they have a lot of decisions to make that most players, for all the human history of college football, have never been faced with. And so there are going to be mistakes made because not everybody has their best interest at heart. Not like we do at Warchant.
Amen. Speaking of us over at Warchant, our guy Corey Bates says if Mike Norvell lauds the team up again this year, namely the offensive line, will Warchant back him preseason? Should we believe him?
No. I'm not saying that it's not going to be true, but I'm not going to sit there and say, guys, it's been fixed. You should see the way they move KJ Sampson and Kevin Wynn around. These holes everywhere. Alabama's going to struggle. That's not going to happen. We're not doing that. We're not taking anybody's word for it. They don't have Jordan Travis. They don't have a quarterback that can mask a lot of things. So, again, in the way they practice, it's hard to really determine how good a running game is going to be, how good a running back is going to be. So, no, I won't. I'm not going to criticize him and say he's a fool, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, yeah, they're going to win 10 or 11 games.
Yeah, man. I was literally thinking about that earlier today, and listen, man, I'm not a talent evaluator, clearly, but watching them practice, I'm like, this is going to be a very good offensive line. Like, I don't know if they're going to be Joe Moore award winner, but they're going to be a very good offensive line. They have so many options. Guys like Keandre Jones look like they were improving. He's getting up to the second level and making blocks. So I don't know what to tell you, folks. We're going to watch practice again this year, hopefully, we think. And if I think they look good, I think they look good, man.
I think he learned it, but more importantly than what we think, I think Norvell has learned his lesson. I don't think he is going to sit there on August 11th and be like, guys, we got something special here. He's not going to do that. He lived that life over the last year. Now he's gonna say, I like the way they work, I like the way they compete, but he's not going to tell us that his left tackle is going to be an All-American. He's not going to tell us that so and so looks like the next Jordan Travis. That's just not going. I just can't foresee that happening because he looked like a bigger idiot than any of us. It was his team he was talking about, and he knows more about football than we do. So for him to think that team was going to be good and it wasn't, looks poorly on him more than it looks poorly on us. So I think he will be very reserved in what he says because he also knows nobody wants to hear it or cares. They're words. It'll be proof. There'll have to be proof for people to believe what he's saying.
What about the optimism, though? I don't want to go too long on this one. We got some other ones to get to here as we wrap up. But I mean, when he talked about like, I'm just an optimistic person. Like, I'm just always going to see the good in people. And like, I can tell what they could possibly be. I'm going to push them to be what I think they possibly can be. I don't think even the nastiness of a 2-10 season can really shake that out of you. But maybe doesn't come across in his answers. He can still maybe tamp it down somewhat.
You wouldn't want that to. You wouldn't want one season out of the 20 that he's been a coach to be like, okay, I'm going to stop being optimistic. They just sucked everything out of me. Like I'm a whole different.
Mick Cronin style.
Yeah, just Mick Cronin. Like I hate all these guys.
Soft.
I'm the only one. They're soft. I'm the only one that tries. Mick Cronin is what a peach that guy is. Go watch that interview from yesterday, folks. That was incredible. And he does that routinely. Just throws his kids under the bus.
Yeah.
But I think that I don't think he's going to be optimistic. He just won't be. He won't say things like I think this could be the best offensive line we've had since we've been here. He's just not going to say things like that. He'll say I like what we've got. I think there's some potential here. He'll use that word a lot. He won't. When you come off 2-10, he just knows better. He's smart enough to know that that's not the play, whether he believes it or not. I think he'll know that's not the play.
Yeah, no superlatives, but you can say that you like the way they look and the way they're working. Good point, Corey. Let's go to Never Lose Your Nerd. Shout out to them throwing $2 in the jar.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Are we not expecting anything from Lucas this year? Jaylin Lucas or Lucas Simmons? Never Lose Your Nerd. I would expect something from Jaylin Lucas or more from Jaylin Lucas than I would Lucas Simmons. We can do two at once, I guess, right here.
It's just a lot, man. There's only one football. It's just a lot. Yes, I am expecting something from him. I thought it was crazy. I know he got hurt early. It was crazy he didn't get the touches he needed to get against Georgia Tech. And then until that touch against Boston College, where he's the only one that got him down inside the 5-yard line because he's tough to cover and he's fast on I think it was a little crossing route. And then he got hurt on that play and never played again. Yeah, man, I think that I am expecting something from him. I just think he is not going to be a guy that's going to touch it 20 times a game. He touches it 6, maybe 4 or 6. But then you've also got, you do have the Danzies of the world. You got the Cromwell coming in. You've got Squirrel White and Deuce Robinson and all the receivers that are coming back that aren't those guys. Like somebody just had up Hykeem and Jalen Brown. So, I'm not expecting him to be a workhorse. I'm not expecting him to have a ton of production. I do expect him to make a couple of really big plays for this offense if he's healthy. He just won't be a guy that is going to get 5 or 10 touches a game. I don't think because, they will play a lot faster, so that will help. They'll run more plays, but it just modern college football, you don't have like 5 guys with 10 touches a game. That doesn't typically happen.
Let's go back to that question real quick from Robert. Hykeem, Jalen Brown, will they get any playing time?
I think Hykeem especially will. Jalen, just not sure. He did not have a breakout redshirt freshman season. Didn't really do anything of note. He's fast, but great. They got a lot of fast guys. He's got to get much, much better, stronger, better route runner, all that stuff. And look, man, he's also going to hopefully be in a better offense that can get him the ball on time. I don't know how many times he was open and they either didn't see him or the quarterback was getting sacked before he had a chance to see him. So it's hard to know how good or bad he was running his routes, but he didn't make any plays. And the receiving, he couldn't get on the field consistently last year with that receiving core. What's it going to look like this year now that you've added 2 legitimate weapons? It seems like it'll be harder. Hykeem is a different deal because of the size and the physicality. I think frankly, the potential. I would love to see Hykeem take that big next step and be the 3rd wideout. I feel like Deuce and Squirrel sounds like a CBS show in the 70s. Deuce and Squirrel, I think, are obviously going to be the 2 main targets. Maybe Hykeem becomes the 3rd at wide receiver.
If it makes you better, we don't have to call him Squirrel. I can give him by his government name, Marquarius. Apparently his great-grandmother called him Squirrel as an infant after he moved simultaneously with a squirrel that was in her garden.
Oh, okay. All right. I like Squirrel.
Okay.
It's a cool name. I mean, I don't like squirrels, but I like the nickname.
Corey Bates is back. He's excited. 10 more bucks in the jar. Love you guys. Beat Miami tonight.
Yep.
Amen.
Make them feel it. There you go. I can't imagine that's going to be a great crowd for that game. It's going to be more like a neutral site game. Maybe the Noles can get it done. It's already started. It's already tipped.
Yeah, we got a few more, I promise. Dino, when we beat the Candy Canes this year, should Mike Norvell pull an Uno reverse card on Mario, beat his fist on the desk, and mention the trajectory of our program versus the other program?
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah, it's I don't know. What has Miami done at quarterback? Have they done anything?
I don't think so, no. Emory Williams, baby.
Yeah. So look, man, it's year to year. It's year to year until you prove it isn't. And that goes for all these programs. Florida State, Miami, anybody that has a breakout year like we thought Miami was having, and then they tanked like they do. But Arizona State, Florida State in 23, although that was really the culmination of 2 years, you've got to prove it over the long haul before we're ever going to just think, oh, yeah, we know what this trajectory is. Like right now, Florida has the best trajectory, right? Okay, we'll see. But there's only 5 or 6 programs in the country that they're always going to be challenging for a playoff spot in the immediate future. Right? Other than that, you got to prove it every year. So, yes, Mario saying that was crazy, but it's what you're supposed to say when you win the game. Hopefully Norvell will have something for him if they beat them this year.
Penultimate question. This comes from, I think, a newcomer, Philip Korf. What up, Philip?
PK.
Hey, guys, any updates on the football-only facility worth note? How much of an impact do you think it will have in today's recruiting, given we're so far behind the curve? Can't see the emoji that he used. Dude, every time I go back over that part of campus, it's incredible the amount of progress they're making. I don't know what the completion date on it is. I can probably look it up once I let Corey go here. I think you still need that, man. It's part of the mix. Listen, I get Corey's points probably more salient, like, don't spend the money on that. Use that for player acquisition.
Well, it's already been spent, so now go ahead and finish it. Don't just have it in construction there for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, elite college campuses, when they're trying to recruit like the best and brightest minds, like it's not just about there's so much that goes into it than just like, hey, like we're going to give you all this money for scholarship and research. It is like you need to feel comfortable. You need to have all these facilities and other resources available, even as a student. So these guys play football, but when they're done with football, they all want to be able to hang out like in a really cool, awesome place. And everybody else gets to do it. Like Ohio State's got one of these, Alabama's got one of these, Texas got one of these, and they have a player lounge right now. But the player lounge at one point was what they called like the rubber room, which was like this turf room that they did post-practice or post-game interviews sometimes. When it was raining out, they would run routes. It was, so it's okay, but you need something probably to keep up with the Joneses, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think so. I don't disagree with you. Now that it's being built, go ahead and finish it. As Aslan said, I haven't been by there since I got back to town, but the progress they're making is noticeable, and I assume it'll be done by the time ball practice starts. That would be great if it was.
August 25 is the 2025. This year, August is the plan.
There we go. Boom, just in time for them to cancel the Bama game. Am I right, everyone? Am I right? But look, every NFL team, like, they don't need those sprawling, beautiful facilities.
Right.
They got the players, whether they have them sit in a high school locker room or $1 billion facility. They still have them. So I think it is just like you want to keep up with the rest of the country, and you want to give them, all the, I don't know, the best things that you can that a 20-year-old would want in a football facility. And so we'll see what kind of impact it makes. I don't think it'll make a ton. I don't think you're going to I don't think you're going to get a bunch of recruits now that you have a footballing facility. But maybe you hang on to one or two that you wouldn't have otherwise because they were just in love with Alabama's chocolate fountain or something. I don't know.
Last one, our guy S Quinn 67. If there was one rule in college football that you would change, what would it be, and why would it be the unlimited transfer rule?
That's absolutely it. But if it's not that, if it's like a game rule, it's the targeting being automatic ejection. It's just dumb. I also think intent should matter when it comes to targeting. I know you can't measure intent, but we can. I've seen enough of targeting calls to know that kid didn't mean to do that, and I feel like the Texas-Arizona State was a perfect example of that. That kid didn't mean to do it, but he did it. And we've lived our whole lives with that being targeting. But in that instance, they didn't call it. I would have been okay if I hadn't seen Florida State players or other players been called for that same exact penalty 10 times. So I would say that is probably my number one is the targeting. I don't know if I have can't even think of a number two.
I wonder if they'll ever eliminate down, I don't know if down by contact is the right way to call it, but if you're a college football player, you just trip over the 10-yard line, you're down, even if you're not touched. That hasn't haunted anybody, but I have this anxiety. What if Florida State, what if they are down by 4?
Yeah.
And they've got a guy streaking down the sideline. He just trips, just falls.
Yeah.
He's down.
You want him to be like it. You can get back up. Yeah.
Yeah. No timeouts. It's over.
It's weird. It's basically all NFL anyway. So make it where you have to get 2 feet in bounds. Yeah. And if you fall down on your own, you can get back up and run. The 2-point conversions too. The 2-point conversions in overtime are dumb. I don't like that. Yeah. Just start every drive at the 10. First and goal at the 10 or something. So then it's only one set of downs. But do not have one play to decide a game after a second overtime. I would
like there to be 2 transfer limits. You can get a third. I would say you should only be able to transfer to schools that you made official visits to.
Oh, all right.
Because you clearly had an interest in them. If you never visited a school, why would you want to go there now? Other than one reason, which is.
That's how the world works, though. That's how we got you from Huntsville.
Dothan.
Wherever.
I wish I lived in Huntsville. Huntsville's actually supposed to be pretty cool.
Man, you got a space camp? Yeah.
All right, we're done, everybody. Probably done for the week as well, unless some crazy stuff happens on Thursday, which you never know. Hey, it's crazy how life works out sometimes. We do encourage you to check out warchant.com. All the recruiting stuff you were interested about is over there. Michael Langston, Matt Lassere got you covered. Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock. Writings from Corey, Ira. Corey's going to be working on his story about the way these teams up front and the remaining 4 teams in the college football playoff look like. So check that out. Shout out to our guy, Dave, Z-Chan, Thomas, Eddie, Don, Corey, Never Lose Your Nerd, and Phillip. Certainly appreciate it. If you could hit the thumbs up on the way out, everybody, we would appreciate that. We'd be excited about it. Just like Dupree Hundo is excited to play Bama in week 1. So
bring it, Tide. Bring it.
Let's go. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks so much for watching this live edition of Wake Up Warchant presented by our great friends over at Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Sip the juice.